You're embarrassing yourself. That's thought number one when I think about people looking at the work that I have on YouTube so far, in contrast to the 19 plus years I've spent building my career. And it's thoughts like that that have prevented me and probably so many people like me from even bothering to get started. Because the idea of people seeing us when we're not ready yet, while we're working on getting better, is super embarrassing. And it's thoughts like that that I decided I wasn't going to let keep me small anymore. So, in the off chance someone that might decide whether or not I'm employable or not employable, worth hiring or not hiring, finds this video, I thought I would just take a second to address the fact that there is a human being in all of us that is working towards getting better at the skills that we're not good at yet. But if I had never bothered to try getting good at the things I sucked at 19 years ago, I wouldn't be so good at them today. And I'm really glad that I decided to keep trying 19 years ago to be where I am today. Now, I was kind of lucky because 19 years ago, I had passion driving me where I wanted to be. I didn't even know that graphic design was a thing. I had to Google it when I was applying to universities. And by some stroke of luck, I happened to get in. And from what I understand, it was a very competitive program to get into. There's actually people who went to graphic design high schools to prepare to get into this program. And I remember getting there for the interview. This is too distracting. And so I remember when I got accepted for an interview to the university, I had to come in person, lay out my portfolio, and explain my decisions behind the concepts. I guess this is so they understood design thinking and obviously that you had actually created the work. I remember walking into this room and there was probably about 10 other students' work already laid out. And I looked at this. Now remember, I had taught myself how to use Photoshop a few weeks prior. I had taught myself from the bottom up, like what these ideas and concepts were, because I didn't even know graphic design was a thing. I went to a very small rural high school. And so I remember looking around the room and I'm like, there is no way I'm going to get into this program. Like, laughably, there is no way I'm getting into here. The people there were so talented. Like their work was like what you'd see in magazines and stuff. So I remember looking around that room and the interviewer came in. And at this point I was laughing to myself that I would even somehow be in this room. So she was asking me questions and any pressure that I'd had to perform had melted away because there was 0% chance I was getting in. And she's asking me questions and I'm kind of just like spit firing back and forth. And I remember her asking a question towards the end and I answered in such like a loosey-goosey way. I gave her this little spiel and she laughed. I think because it was comedic, the idea that I had, but it wasn't exactly, I think, professional and proper the way that I think that an answer should have been to try to get into a school like that. So I remember leaving the interview and my sister-in-law picked me up and she goes, "Oh, do you want to explore the campus?" And I'm like, no, there's no way I'm getting in here. I'm not going to get attached to this. And somehow, like weeks later, I got an acceptance letter with a talent bursary. And to this day, I thought, okay, they somehow made a mistake, but I'm not going to point out this mistake because the idea of getting to go to the school and getting a scholarship was like amazing. So I tell this story because there's a time in my life where I didn't put much thought into anything. I just decided this is what I want to do. And I applied myself to figuring out what I needed to do to qualify. And then I just showed up. I showed up as best I could. And I wasn't overly attached to how it was going to turn out. And somehow that worked for me. And so here I am years later, making content online that is so not professional and so doesn't indicate that I am actually qualified to be doing the kinds of things that I'm optimistic I would be seen as qualified to be able to do. And the reason I'm making this video in such a wonky way is because last night I had a dream where basically anything that could be found online that was super embarrassing was found online by potential employers and potential hirees. And I remember throughout this dream, I was so embarrassed because here I was trying to conduct myself professionally so I could be considered for positions that I knew that I was capable of adding a lot of value to. But they were finding all of these things that were enigmatic of who I was many years ago. And they were not very professional. And I woke up and I thought there's a couple different ways I could be looking at this. Number one, so a call to action to go be more professional, go scour my internet history and make sure that there's nothing embarrassing that could ever prevent me from being hired or seen as professional by other people. And I mean, that's the obvious choice here, right? Go back through every article I've written, I'm not overly active on social media, but go back as far as my teenagehood and make sure that there's nothing super unprofessional, because these are the kind of things that prevent people from going ahead every single day. And my second line of thinking was lean into it. We are human beings who are working towards being seen as professionals every single day. Many of us have decades of experience, and it only takes a couple bad impressions to be seen as not professional. And that's exactly what this could do. I could go back through the past few weeks of the first few videos that I've been creating while I try to find my voice online. I know that they are so embarrassing. They are uncut. They are not a great representation of my professionalism by any means, but they are a good representation of my humanity and my vulnerability while I work towards getting better at certain goals. So I thought I could either undo all of my progress, wipe my history, and be only seen as pristine and professional, or I could lean into it and I could be willing to be seen as the multifaceted human being that I am, that is wildly unprofessional at times. My baby doesn't always have things work out the way that I thought that they would, and is not as prepared as I want to be when it comes to how people find me online. And it's that stuff that could prevent me from going forward at all, from wiping out all of my progress, or it's that kind of stuff that I can decide makes me totally worth getting to know on different levels. So my name is Melanie. I'm an interactive developer and accredited designer with over 19 years experience. I'm on a mission to help bridge the gap between technology, businesses, and the people they aim to serve. I am far from perfect, wildly human, and looking forward to getting to know you in the years to come as I show you more and more of my expertise and my humanity. Cheers.